Welcome to Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week, it chooses the movie, and they discuss it. Today we're talking about the 2016 film The Conjuring 2, which was directed by James Wan. I am Alec.
I'm Erik.
So now we're deep into the Conjuring expanded universe. What did you think of this one compared to the first one?
First one's way better.
Yeah.
Like, magnitude better. I mean, first thing I'm going to say, they dropped the ball by not just calling this Conjurings, like Alien. Like aliens, like just add an S to it. The Conjurings. Because there's a lot of different levels of demons going on. Spoiler alert. But
Okay. Yeah. That's true.
like, there's like the old guys, like, but it's not him. He's using the old guys. Like, what is this? Pokemon gym bosses we got to go through to like get to the main demon? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Actually, that's a good call. They really, because the new one's coming out is not called Conjuring 3, it's just called The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. So they didn't need to make 1, 2, 3. You're right.
You want to pique my interest on a sequel? Add an S to it.
Okay.
Like Lilo and Stitch. Lilo and Stitches. Oh, there's multiple of them. I don't know. Just that's the first movie that came into my brain.
The Shawshank Redemptions.
Yeah, totally.
You just watch what they do after when they get together.
Yeah, I'd love that. I would like that.
Yeah. I saw this right when it came out too, and I remember I think I said on the last podcast when we did the first one, I was like, the second one's just as good. And I said that, and I was like, and then I rewatched it now, and I was like, definitely not as good. No. But I guess I was just like, well, where's it supposed to go? Because like, if you're watching The Conjuring and you're like, I expect this to be about the Warrens, I expect there to be a possession. So like, how much farther can it really go from the first one? And it doesn't really.
It doesn't. The way they could do it is just another story similar, which they did. Yeah. But honestly, dude, this one bounced around like 5 times. Like, I don't know. It started off with like the Amityville Horror. It's like kicked off with that. Was that like a little like end of the side mission? Like, just finished the Amityville Horror. And now we're going to. It really bounced around. I'll say that.
I think they did that because I actually love how it opens because you get that shot of the windows from the Amityville house, which is so like iconic. You know, it kind of looks like a face. You know, like the
yeah.
So, well, that's cool. That's how it started, and then it's like Amity 1970, whatever. But I guess the thing is, like, this Enfield horror is supposed to be like a parallel, I guess. So it's like, you know, because they're not going to do the Amityville horror again. Like, we've already seen that movie so many times. They've done remakes.
Yeah. We know the story.
So they're like, let's tell this British version that was happening at the same time. But I did read a lot about like what was actually pulled from like The Conjuring 2, like what the Warrens, their involvement and stuff. A lot less than the first one.
Really?
Apparently they flew to London for 1 day and then they left. That was apparently the extent of how long they were
there.
So
the church really sent them there and was like, just find out and say, oh, she's bending spatulas. It's fake, and they left.
Yeah, pretty much. So like they did say that they some of it was fake. They were like, we concluded some of it was fake. So like this one definitely took some liberties. They stretched out a lot of things. But you know, it's cool because they do have real video footage of those girls. Like I watched it on YouTube after I finished this. I was like, I want to see if they have any of that. And they have a real video of these two young girls on a couch talking to that Maurice Grosse guy. And I was like, oh shit.
I was going to say my favorite part of this movie, and I don't mean to shit on it. It's not terrible.
It's not terrible.
It's a little like, oh, okay, it's a little campy, a little, you know, the CGI is intense and not really my style. But I love the photos at the end where they do the slideshow showing the Warrens and showing that they were wearing the same outfits and showing the room of the girl or whatever, and she has the same posters. I was like, damn, the set designer. That's so impressive that they were like, we're going to keep this as real to what the Warrens went through as we can.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the set designer, the costume designers, like they absolutely nailed it.
Nailed it.
They did that the ending in The Conjuring 1 too, didn't they?
I love that. I love that part of it, and I like the part. You know, the things that pique my interest are that kind of stuff, the true story stuff, and then the ending when you go back to the Warren's house and he has all those like collector's items, like baseball cards of horror stuff.
Yeah, it feels like they go off in their one little story and then they come back to the house, and then like that's where all of it's like the launching point is that room or whatever. But I did watch a trailer for this new Annabelle movie that's coming out, and it's basically like one of the Warrens' daughter's friends comes over, and instead of like going into the room and finding a gun, they like go into that room and they like see all the stuff, and basically they're like, what did you touch in that room? And she's just like, everything, and then it's just like dun 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 dun, like all this
Oh,
like
so she's
crazy.
all, like, super duper possessed?
Yeah, like she's touched like, Annabelle and the crazy monkey and like the
Mm.
spinning crooked man thing, like all the stuff that they find and that's in that
It's
room, the
like,
girl
"You
didn't
didn't
know.
touch the yo-yo, did you?" It's like, "I played with the yo-yo." It's like, "Oh, we're in
Yeah.
deep shit.
That's what
You
they
played with the
mean.
yo-yo?"
It's like,
Like,
"That doll is a conduit for other things." It's like, "But you unleash them." Oh, like, it's, like, so ridiculous, but I think that's, like, the 3rd or 2nd Annabelle movie that's but the trailer was like, "The Conjuring comes home," like, sort of thing. You're
oh
just
my
like
god, it's like the end of the Cabin in the Woods. It's like that's how it, like, kicks off, like, all these demons, like, coming out, like
dude, seriously, the trailer for that, I think it's called Annabelle, like, I don't know if it's, like, Homecoming, like they're doing, like, what Spider-Man did, but
like
it
Suicide Squad, Annabelle, like
yeah, and no, but it really is though, like, the mom was just like, "You touched everything in the house," and it looks like her, like, playing the piano and touching all these things, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, it really is like Cabin in the Woods."
yeah, yeah, that's wild. I mean, they had a really good the first one was very well received, made a lot of money. This one, they kinda like, "Alright, rinse and repeat. We baked a pie with the first one, let's bake the same pie, it'll make 340,000,000 again. Bada bing, bada boom, add some
Yeah.
blueberries, more intense stuff, and yeah, there we are."
I will say though, I think The Nun was way scarier than Annabelle. I think that was probably, like, the comparison, I guess, to the first one. They each have their own little side story, and The Nun but The Nun kinda, like, takes over the whole story towards the end, like, you think
It
she's a
doesn't
side character.
I just finished it about an hour ago. I'm still having trouble, like, okay, processing. So The Nun, what was The Nun? I know they made a Nun movie, right?
Yeah, okay, so from what I can kind of piece together, it seems like there's this overarching demon that's kind of like the puppet master between all of these little things that the Warrens are doing, and it's the nun, and it, like, exposed itself to her. It's called Valak or whatever, and it exposed itself to her in
Yeah.
the first one, and then the second one, it's, like, bringing her to these different places so that, like, I don't know, they can kill one of them. I'm not sure. Uh, but that's what it seems like. It's like there's an overarching theme here. So the nun is the puppet master of Bill Wilkins and Bathsheba and all this stuff. So now we got to see what happens next. The nun's on the loose, and the movie The Nun is like a prequel. It's like how the nun became the nun, sort of
How
thing.
the name became Valak.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
I did see it, and it was so forgettable. I was like, I don't
I
fucking.
could I could I mean, and then really didn't Valak or whatever, didn't do it for me. I love that idea. It's like, "Hey, like, if you know the demon's name, you have power over it." It's like,
Yeah,
"Really? Do we know the last 4 syllables of its social too? Because if we do know that, then we
and we can send
really
it
have
back to
power
hell.
over it." Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we know the mother's maiden name of Valak? Like, do we know their first car, their first pet name? Like, oh, we can definitely,
Yeah, it's true.
nail it.
But that's the thing. Why would the demon it's like, "You told me your name." It's like, why the hell would a demon tell someone its
Uh,
name?
I mean, yeah, dude, this movie is a little crazy. My favorite, like, okay, what the hell is going on? What is this? The Hardy Boys with the X on the train,
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
listening to the tapes. Like, that train's gonna go, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we're actually going home."
Yeah,
But no, they're listening. It's like they just figured that out in like 6 minutes.
I
That,
know.
but also it's like, oh, we see all this crazy shit, and then it's like there's a video of her bending a spatula in the kitchen. Like, pack it up, let's go. It's like after everything we just witnessed, it's like everything we just witnessed, it's all fake. Look at her bending forks. Let's go.
Well,
It's like, that
apparently that
doesn't
was
make any sense.
real.
How did the kitchen get that fucked up? She couldn't have done that.
That's real
Like,
though. That's actually what happened. So apparently that is one of the things where they did catch the video of her bending spoons and breaking stuff, and then they were like, "Did you do this?" And she's like, "Yes." So like, I kind of like that about
mm,
this one, where there's much more of a challenge of is this real? Is this not real? Like the first one, it's just like this is real. This is happening no matter what. This one, it's like I, as the audience, was like, "This is fucking bullshit." Like the whole thing, and then I was happy there were characters that were calling it out. Like they weren't just fully everybody on board. It is weird though, man, because the police they did testify and said that this happened. They're like, we were there. The
yeah.
freaking chair moved. That's real. That really happened, and there is video of them talking about it. And then that Maurice Gross guy, he's a real person. He really believed them, and apparently
Mm,
that daughter thing is real too. His daughter really did die. I looked into it, and like that's what kind of sparked his interest in trying to see if there was an afterlife. So
yeah.
there are cool things in this movie that did pull from real things, but
That's one of the problems they had. It was a lot of a lot. It was just too much. You wanted the horror at the beginning. You got the Ouija board, the homemade Ouija board. It's like, all right, what we do? We got this. We got this. We got this. We got, we know his death in the future. Like we have all. It's like, all right, we like, what's your main point? Like, let's get
well,
coherent. And
Eric, I gotta say,
a lot.
I
It's a
think it is
lot.
kinda nah, hold on, I think that's kinda coherent, man. Because like, the Ouija board getting brought to that girl's house is the reason why the things start happening, and then the nun is then able to be like, "Hey, I'm awake in this I can control this demon who's in this
Yeah.
house," and it gets started because the Ouija board got brought there. So
Well, no,
then
not only that, because she, like, slept with it under her bed. I was
yeah,
like, "What do you that's like, you might as well just sleep on a pentagram with candles. Like,
exactly.
why would you ever do that?"
So it kinda makes sense, just think about it. So the Warrens have been, like, fighting this nun demon, Valak or whatever, so then Valak is like, "Oh, shit, this Ouija board just opened a portal at this house, so now I can use Bill Wilkinson to draw the Warrens here to try and kill them." It kind of all makes sense, it
What
does, right?
about the, Splinter Man or whatever, the what's it called?
Crooked Man?
Yeah, like, add that in there.
I
There's too much
yes,
shit, dude. There's
I
too much
agree.
shit.
The Crooked Man, I agree. That seemed like that was a stretch. I thought that was gonna be Bill Wilkinson, but it was like, "Oh, wait, this is a whole whole 'nother thing now?" But that's the only other thing that I was like, "Okay, that's the Crooked Man, I agree with you." But the nun, I do like how they tied her in and it was like, "Okay, she's the real puppet master of all this shit." That's
Yeah,
kinda what I gather. So I'm kinda like, "Okay, okay, we got a big bad guy now. We got a big boss," and, yeah, it is a lot of rinse and repeat. I do think the ending where they just go back, they're like, "You know what? Let's just go back." It's just that was
yeah.
kinda dumb. I do think though the mom, man, like, watching it again, I was really paying attention. Anytime the Warrens, like, don't really see anything. It's always when the audience sees something, it's always the mom seeing it or the kids. It's rarely the Warrens seeing it
Oh,
until
I
the
mean,
end.
they see the kids being possessed and freaking out and getting stuck in, like, behind the furnace or whatever and stuff. They witness that stuff, and they witness couches flying around, and the first one, they witnessed a shit ton, a shit
Yeah,
ton.
I mean, like, in the first I mean, okay, so, like, when Patrick Wilson goes into the basement and first of all, she just let that flood. Remember, like, when she was doing the laundry and the
Shut the
pipe
water
I
off.
know.
Shut You're gonna get that house condemned, and you're gonna
It's
have
just
to knock it
yeah.
down.
Dude, literally, that must have been, like, easily
Your
24
water bill
hours.
is gonna be nuts,
Yeah.
everything. Like,
How
what are you
did
doing?
like, the North London system not be like, "Hey, we have a huge water leak right now," like, anyways, so
Can you
Patrick
explain it? Like, it's halfway flooded, though.
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's destroyed,
I'm
like, that
sorry,
whole
let's stay on this. Let's stay on this.
But anyway, so Patrick Wilson goes down there to, whatever, fix the pipe. He should have been like, "What the fuck did you do?" Like,
I've
that
given up. I've given up.
he's like,
I
"Alright, we're"
don't care. It's like, "Alright, we get it. Like, you really need to, like, call a plumber when this
yeah.
happens."
But he's like, "No, no, no, I can fix this." So he goes down there, but
Mold City.
that whole scene, Patrick Wilson sees nothing. The entire thing is just he finds the stupid teeth or whatever. I'm like, "That's what the" okay. But anyways, but the mom is the only one that sees the face. The mom's the one that, like, drags her head underwater. That could have just been the mom doing all of that.
Right, and then it makes it seem like, "Alright, so you just cut your arm. Is this what cut your arm? Did you just do that yourself?" That's why they
Right.
have that benefit of the doubt of, like, is this real?" Like, they don't really that's a good point. They do that.
I feel like they do a good job of tricking the audience enough where it's like they go full on both ways. They're like, "There's a demon, but also look at this video of the girl throwing the fucking thing." Like, it's full
Yeah.
blown just like, I don't really know what the hell's going on right now.
I
And
wish I wish one thing I would have done that I mean, they didn't do, but it would have added, like, a comedy value, kinda like the end of Poltergeist. It's like, "So, like, he died right there in that chair." It's like, "Is that the same chair?" It's like, "Yeah, we bought the house with all the furnishing." It's like, "Okay," and cut to him, like, throwing it in a dump truck, like, "We're getting rid of this right now."
yeah, that's how
Like,
it
this
should have
is like
gone.
yeah, it's like, "No, let's keep it." It's like the kid in the fort. It's like you see the fire truck, like, coming out of the fort,
Yeah.
and then cuts to the morning. It's like, the second the sun hits the earth that morning, I am tearing down that stupid tent fort and tossing that fire truck in the trash.
I know.
That fort is up the entire time up until the end. Like, that's
I know.
terrifying. Why would you ever keep that up, kid? Like, that's not how kids would freak out if that happened.
Yeah, it's true. The only thing I can think of why they didn't throw the furniture out is because, like, the dad was probably, like, an alcoholic and was cheating on the wife. Well, no, because he's, like, a shitty dad. He took off and he's
Yeah.
not
Oh, he
giving
has twins with the neighbor or
yeah,
something.
and they say in the
Damn.
beginning, it's like, "He hasn't given me $1, like, to help the kids." So, I can just imagine he bought all this stuff, didn't care about anything, and probably took off, like, really soon after that, and
Yeah.
the chair's not a big deal until the Ouija board gets brought in, and then, I guess it's kinda creepy, but the son, the youngest son, I think he either died of cancer when he was 14, and then the next son took care of the mom at that house until she died, and
In the same chair.
she did die in the same chair, and they asked the son that, it's like, "Yeah, she went downstairs and just died there," and it was just like, "Oh, shit." And then they asked the son of Bill Wilkinson, they're like, "How did your dad die?" And he was like, "He did have a hemorrhage and fucking fell, like, on there." So there's, like, some things you're like, "What is this?" Like, it
Mm.
seems like the girls are just kinda pulling a trick, and maybe the mom was like, "We're poor, it worked in Amityville, if we can get the Warrens to come here, maybe this will be like, we can get money out of this." Like, so it seems like this could have been all fake, or there's real shit, like, the police report is real, so fuck, like.
I mean, the one thing that really gets me is that, like, yeah, they have the girl, like, bending the forks and stuff. It's like that right there. When you have any bit of fudging that's been like, "Yeah, that was fake." It's like, "Oh, well, then there's no credibility anymore." That's
Yeah.
all.
There was a, like, a report that came out a couple years ago, from the Jennifer girl, the daughter, or Janet, whatever, the girl that got possessed, and
Mhm.
she basically said that we did fabricate some stuff. She's like,
Yeah,
very
very
few
dude.
she's like, "We did make up a couple things because we wanted to mess with that Maurice Grosse guy because he was getting so interested that we were kids and we were messing with him, but there was real stuff." She's like, "I didn't think that this thing was a demon. I didn't think it was trying to hurt anybody." She's like, "I thought it was like a like wanting to be part of our family, it was lonely sort of thing." She's like, "There wasn't anything like dangerous." She's like, "But it was real, but we did mess around sometimes." And I was just like, "Huh."
Yeah. Yeah, the movie kinda played it as, like, the demon made me bend the forks and made me make it look like I was faking
Right,
it.
right.
Like, okay, what is this, a long con? Like,
Well, no, if you're a demon, though, think about it. Like the one thing that can stop you is like,
fudging,
these.
making it seem fake. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, if you don't do this, I'll kill you, sort of thing. And but like, how would the demon know it's gonna be on camera? There's a lot of little things, yeah. Yeah, like,
That's
but
what they said, like, "Why was the camera pointed perfectly at this?" It's like, "Why is anything pointed perfectly at this
right. Well,
thing?"
it's like the
Like,
demon's looking out the window. He's like, "Okay, okay, 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 good, we're good, okay, okay. All right, now you
right,
better do
right,
this, or I'm gonna
right.
fucking kill you."
Yeah, that's what happened.
I mean, pretty much. Like, yeah. You know why I like James Wan though? Like, he does a good job of kind of justifying things where you're like, okay, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, he does
Mhm,
answer a lot of things through dialogue, which I like and I appreciate. But also, I notice a lot of his style, like that, especially that scene where it goes from daytime or nighttime, and the beginning, kind of like in the house, you see like the chair and it's nighttime, and then it
mhm.
slowly turns and it becomes daytime and it backs up, sort of thing. Remember that scene? It's all
Oh,
one
dude,
shot.
the cinematography is actually really good.
Same as
I
the first
I
one.
I like the new things he brought into it. When he gets hit with the hot water from the furnace and
Oh,
he
yeah.
can't see, I love that. I love that kinda stuff of, like, he can't see and he's still trying to, it's like, imagine seeing a ghost, but your eyes are all messed up. It's like, that's even scary. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So
He's
that was new ground to me.
he's I mean, like, that's the thing. So, I don't love this movie, but I really gotta say, like, if you like the first one, you'll probably like this one. It's not breaking new ground.
Mhm.
You do have to kind of fill in a lot of the gaps, but it's a new setting, which I kinda like that it was in England. You don't really see a lot of horror movies that aren't, like, in America, really, like, that are like
Yeah.
this.
I mean, I think this is a much better movie if you were to see it in theaters with friends.
Yeah.
Seeing it by yourself at home is not as cool as, like, going to see it with some people in the theater.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I remember The Nun freaking me out in theaters. I was
I
like,
think
"Whoa."
I don't know if it was this movie or the first Conjuring, but I think we were going to see, like, The Expendables or something with, like, Billy Bane, and the trailers were going off. Maybe I don't know what it was. And I remember Billy, who's been a guest on the show, the trailer happens, and we're all sitting far apart because the theater was packed and, like, we could only find, like, 2 seats here and there. I
Yeah.
just hear him, like, towards the front of the theater, "You couldn't pay me." I love when he hates horror movies. That's a good theater memory of mine.
Oh, man. Well, he's coming on for John Wick, like, the
Ah, very excited.
yeah, you're right, yeah, actually, I mean, horror movies are a lot of fun, obviously, in theaters. I like horror movies, though, if you're by yourself in a dark room too, they can be just as scary, I think, but
Yeah,
theater's preferable.
for a horror movie, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know, I like sitting in a room in the dark, though, and, like, at your house, I don't know, it could be I
Yeah,
think,
okay,
like, an
okay.
action movie I wanna see on a big screen, like, they're, like, sci-fi movies I wanna see on a big screen, but I think a horror movie you could appreciate it still not in a theater.
Yeah.
I would prefer it, but I still think, like, it's one of the genres, like that and drama, like, I'm like, I could watch both of these on a small
Mhm.
screen and be kind of okay.
I
Yeah.
think that this Conjuring 2, though, would be good in a theater. This
Oh,
one
yeah,
would.
for sure. No, I remember seeing it in theaters. I remember the Nun just broke me. I was like, "Okay," and you could see why they made a sequel with just her, or prequel,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I also like, it's like, "Honey, what are you doing?" It's like, "I'm painting." It's like, "I'm trying to release some stress." And it cuts to this, like, horrifying painting. It's like, "Oh, let's hang it up." It's like
Yeah.
that it's like, "Honey, you need to go to a therapist." Like, this is not what you paint when you wake up in the morning. Like, this is not Monet, like,
No,
beautiful, like,
and then
landscapes and, like, They
good.
hung it up.
I
They
know.
hung it up.
Well, I don't think that was I think that was a vision she was having.
Okay.
Because remember, because like, it looked like her daughter saw it, and she was walking down the hallway, and then all of a sudden she wakes up, and she's in the chair stabbing the Bible or whatever. So, I don't think they actually hung it up. I think that was part of the vision. Because like, what the fuck? Who would do that?
Did he say too that thing like killed him too in his dream?
Did the demon say
I
that?
know she saw the demon killing him, but did he like he's like I had this dream about this demon killing me. It's like the last thing you do is paint it. I mean the Warrens though. Come on, they're the Warrens. Anything goes.
That's
Anything
a
goes.
I mean, that's a terrifying painting too, for somebody who's just like, "I'm a demonologist,
Yeah.
but I have
It's
a
like
very good art skills as well."
yeah. Oh, that's beautiful, honey. Let's put it on the fridge.
Yeah, but they frame it and then hang it. It's just like, nah, I don't think they would have done that.
Yeah.
It's too crazy. Yeah.
Another guest we've had on the show, obviously Matt Banover, met the Warrens and the family friends, and I
Yeah.
always love the story he tells about like, yeah, my parents really didn't like me around like anything scary or like bad growing up. Like I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter or something like that. And but he's like, I'd hang out with like the most like satanic people in New England, or like not satanic, but like
Satanic.
not satanic. What's the
Kinda
word
like
I'm looking for?
paranormal or
Paranormal. That's the word. Paranormal people, and that's wild. Not satanic.
well, that's why I kinda like this too, is because it is a Connecticut sort of.
I do like that piece to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about this last time too in the first one. It's like with The Exorcist, it's like you can't go to Pazuzu's tomb. You can go to like to where they filmed The Exorcist, but with this, it's like you can go to the Warrens' house. You can
Hmm.
read about stuff about the Warrens, and even if these stories are fabricated and the Annabelle doll is not this porcelain, cracked, evil demon looking thing, but actually a Raggedy Ann doll, it's Hollywood. They always do this. You don't watch a movie and be like, "That's exactly what it's like." That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
Everybody pulls it apart. So it gave it the Hollywood gloss over. But if you can pick apart the things, watch videos on YouTube, read about what really happened, it's still pretty scary.
Yeah. I think that's what's cool is there's the Warren fan base, and it is legit. It's a real thing.
Yeah. And again, like, I don't want to rip it apart. Like, we've seen so many
Yeah.
demon
Yeah.
movies. We've seen so many of these. So they're not like that interesting anymore. And watching, especially we've watched so many older possession movies and exorcist movies and stuff like that. Those feel more terrifying to me because these feel kind of like what like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake feels like. It's just so high budget and glossed over and special
Yeah.
effects and everybody looks perfect that I'm just like, I don't
This
know.
was definitely a lot of special effects, a lot of stuff thrown in there, but very campy too, and some cheesy lines. But it's good. It's good. And like I said, like I don't think I don't like watching these types of movie by myself. I like going in the theaters and watching with a
Yeah.
group of people, and either ripping it apart or talking about it afterwards, which is kind of what we're doing.
I like the soundtrack though. I did like all of these like
Elvis, you like Elvis and John Denver?
well, I like those, but I mean I kinda liked more of the that bus stop song and then the Bee Gees song. Like
Oh yeah,
those
I did. I liked all the music in this. It was great.
yeah. Well, it was just a lot of like kinda like 60s British music with the exception of Elvis, but dude,
Mm.
it was cringy that scene though where he's singing the Elvis part for some reason. I don't know why.
Can't help falling in love with you. Yeah, that was a little okay. And
It
the kids all join in. It's like I was hoping
yeah.
the demon would like come in and do like wise man say, only two days are left." Okay, all right, we're gonna stop the sing along now. If they did that, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go take a walk. Like, I don't need to finish this movie.
No, that actually would have been pretty good. No, yeah, but I don't know what it was. There's just something about like Patrick Wilson with those sideburns and just like oh ho ho ho. I was
He
just like,
doesn't look like Ed Warren at all. At
no,
all. Like
no,
it's comical looking at the picture at the end. It's like that's not how the Warrens looked back then. Like not
no.
even no.
I know,
No.
I know. What's her face? Ed or Lorraine Warren looks more like the woman from the Poltergeist, Zelda
Yeah.
Rubinstein, and
Yeah.
then Ed Warren does kind of look like Elvis, but just kind of like a little bit bigger, I guess. I
Older
did.
too, older too. They look I mean, I don't know, maybe that's the '70s, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will say, because we talked about this last time too, they finally had some cigarettes in a 70s movie. Like, I was just like,
How in a British '70s movie, like, when they go to London,
yeah, finally they're like, all right, we can do it there. But yeah, I
we can show
remember,
we can show 11-year-olds smoking cigarettes outside of school, and then the teacher takes the drag off the cigarette after she catches them, you know?
yeah. So finally I was like, okay, there's a little bit of truth here, because come on, it's the 70s and they're just doing it because they don't give a shit.
Like, these
Um,
kids have to have really crooked teeth, like, really bad the '70s, like, oh my god.
yeah, I thought that was pretty good. And then that stupid line though too, it's just like, oh my god, when, he's got the camera and he's like, "It's so small and light," and you're just like, that line is literally just so a couple people in the audience in the movie theater can go like, "Ha ha." That's the
That
whole point of that line.
yeah, there's a lot of that, but,
Like, come on, like, that's so it's just like, "Oh, because cameras are so oh, that's a big camera, okay."
yeah.
Just like, "Oh my god, shut up." The other thing too, I wanted there to be those paranormal guys, I don't know, to come back from the first one. Bring them back. I want the team,
Oh, yeah, yeah, they could have the whole gang,
you
the
know?
photo the camera person, like, the camera photo person who, like, anytime something happens, like, the camera goes off when the temperature decreases, like, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
remember the guy from the first one that
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, he seems like a throwaway guy, but he's from the
He's just, like,
college."
an intern.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you're gonna add shit, might as well be like, "Hey, we're gonna bring this guy back from the first one." Like, might as well. I
Yeah.
mean, because if the
Yeah.
Warrens were really only there for one day, and in the movie it makes it seem like they're there for a week, like telling stories, and they're just like, "Oh, you've already heard that one about me and my wife getting married to each other? Like, we've got a real relationship
Oh,
here."
that's one of my favorite parts, like, "You know what I did when I met that woman who finally believed me?" It's like, "What, you married her?" It's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
Mary.
you heard the story already?" Like,
No,
I
he's it's
no,
so cheesy, dude. He's just like, "Oh, my wife must have told you this one. Yeah,
like,
that's
they're,
right."
like, so in love. I wanna know what that honeymoon was like. I need to know details and copious details of what kind of occult, paranormal honeymoon the Warrens had.
I know.
Not to talk ill of them. I'm fascinated by them. I think they're great. I believe a lot of the stuff they actually did. I'm a believer, and I do wanna visit their museum. That's still standing, right, in Connecticut?
I think it's in Monroe, Connecticut, or Madison, I can't remember,
Something
one of
like
those.
that. After COVID, when it's safe to touch these relics
Oh,
again,
yeah, sure.
um, and, like, go in there. It's when it's safe to go in the Warrens' basement. We'll have to do that. We'll make a trip of it, Alec.
I
We'll
don't
do
know,
it.
yeah, we talked about I'm scared, man, I don't know.
I don't know. I
I mean,
don't know.
these movies specifically make it so ridiculous,
Well,
but
demons probably listen to this podcast, and they're like, "Oh, these guys, we're gonna teach them a lesson." Like,
yeah, no. Do you have any interest in seeing The Nun or Annabelle or
not the
or
nun. I mean, Annabelle, maybe. The nun, I'm like, Valak didn't do it for me.
no?
He mentions too something about his Catholic school or something and making his confirmation or so. He may have mentioned something about that at one point, right? Ed Warren, right? He was talking to the girl.
I just remember him talking about his dad, like, showing him under the bed, he's like, "There's no mouse
Yeah,
here."
I thought that was gonna be Valak, and it's like they didn't even go into that. So or stuff like that. It felt like he was starting to get towards that. Maybe that's in the Nun. Who knows? Like
The only
why the
thing
nun wants to kill him.
The Nun's a prequel because all I can remember is it's, like, about it's, like, in Spain or something, and they go to some castle, and there's some demon in
Mhm.
there, and, like, like, a nun goes into the castle to find this demon, and I think she gets possessed. It's something weird
Wha
like that.
did I miss something? I might have missed something like getting a soda or something. Yeah, because I drink, like, so many seltzers a day now. When the TVs go on, like, there's a choir singing, like, why that song? And yeah, it's, like, not Joy to the World, it's, like it's a Christmas song.
Yeah, it's like, "Hark the herald angels sing,
Yeah,
joy
Heart the
to
yeah,
earth."
yeah.
That's
It
that's, on the scary tape recorder when she sees the nun. That's, like, the scariest part of the whole movie, I think,
right, you
is
know, I know that, but, like, what was the point of Hark the Herald Angel and the choir and
I don't know, probably just mocking Christianity or something,
okay,
like
okay.
but that's another thing that I love. It's like when he first of all, I really did not like that scene where Patrick Wilson's talking and she's, like, in the back foreground, like, out of focus, and he's just, like, talking about and then he holds up the cross and it freaks out, and then I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay," but then the room upstairs is just covered in crosses, and then, like, the demon's just turning them upside down, and I'm just like, "Okay."
Yeah, that was bad, and then the scene with the painting and the painting, like, "Ooh, spooky painting," like, chasing off the
Yeah.
wall. I was like, "Get the hell outta here."
Here's the thing, I don't like horror movies that pander to the audience, like, that scene where all of those crosses are turning upside down, there's no one in the room to see that aside from us, and then they turn back upside down so that when all like, the Warrens all come in there, it doesn't look like there's anything going on. I'm like, "Why is the" no demon would just do that.
Yeah. I was, like, eating popcorn, like, totally unfazed when that was happening. I was, no,
Yeah, and then here's the other thing, if you're gonna tell me that little girl teleported into that room, that would be it. Be like, "Alright, we need to look at everything. Is there any way she coulda gotten in here besides through that door?" And, like, she didn't have the key, the mom doesn't like, so there was some things where I'm like, they just didn't explain enough, and then I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
want to shit on it. It's okay.
No,
It's okay.
I liked it. I don't wanna shit on it either, but we're having fun. It's a fun movie. It's not supposed to be like Exorcist, like
Masterpiece.
Oscar masterpiece. It's supposed to be like a fun horror movie.
I think they're
And it
going
was.
for
It did the trick. It's got all the things. It does like the what's it called? The Crooked Man? What was his name?
yeah, the Crooked Man.
It's like a Slender Man in there. Just throw
Yeah,
everything in there.
for sure. Well, really quick before we wrap up, there the third one, the Conjuring, the Devil Made Me Do It. It's lucky this one's actually going to be on HBO Max in June, so we can watch the
Whoa.
third one is going straight. And this one, Eric, is a film based on the trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, a murder trial that took place in 1981 in Connecticut.
CT.
So,
What town?
but
Probably
yeah.
Waterbury. It's
Oh,
definitely Waterbury. Damn
Brookfield,
it, I was close. No.
Brookfield, Connecticut.
Brookfield, that's where they filmed some of the House of the Devil.
Oh yeah, you're right.
There you go. It's
Like,
like, Northwestern Connecticut,
nah,
right?
it's like Southwestern. It's kind of near
Okay.
like Danbury and stuff. So I don't know. I'd be down to see that one in June and kind of talk about it, see where it goes from here.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
it does end with them just kind of like kissing, and then you're just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, there was no, like, shock, like, or surprise at the end. It's like, "Wait a minute. We never hit record on those tapes," or, like, nothing, like, crazy, like,
I
at the
mean,
end.
every single Conjuring movie can just end with the camera slowly going into that room, and then you hear like something, and then all of a sudden, like music box shuts or the monkey claps its hands, and then it goes. Well, any one of those things can happen.
Anything.
Yeah,
Dude. The
uh,
the Conjuring cinematic universe of
yeah. I get.
toys.
Well, anyways, what do you say? Spin the wheel, Eric.
Well, we
Oh,
actually, Alec, we can't spin the wheel.
oh, this is the last wheel
What
or
have
the
we
last
done?
movie on the wheel.
Oh, no, now the wheel's gonna make another one. We're gonna have to do another wheel.
Fuck.
You messed up, Alec.
Well, I guess we'll have to see what the wheel has in store for us.
We'll sleep soundly tonight and see if another wheel pops up.
I'm
Great.
sure. I'm sure.
Another
Great.
wheel.
All right. Well, if you need to watch something or listen to something in the meantime, go check out the Wheel of Horror Action, which is
Yeah.
airing every Thursday.
Mondays and Thursdays. Wheel of Horror podcast.
All right. Well, Eric, have a good night.
You too, Alec. You
Yeah.
too.
Sleep sound.
Yeah, I probably will.